we need to talk about Poppy Playtime. First and foremost, Chapter 5 just dropped recently, and I guess here's a quick review. Started off semi-strong with a nice chase with Huggy Wuggy. However, the game just devolves into a walking simulator with a couple puzzles sprinkled in, and every now and then you get a boss set piece, which is just a chase scene essentially, with minimal player input. Barely requires 2 brain cells to beat those quote-unquote bosses. Apart from that, music is forgettable. Atmosphere is non-existent, not particularly scary. Game is extremely formulaic, as mentioned earlier. It's essentially just chase scene into puzzle into boss introduction into puzzle into chase scene into puzzle death cutscene. Repeat that 2 or 3 times over the course of 3 hours, and that's the game. Another aspect is every second of the game, your immersion's ruined by the actual game design, where it's like, to enter a door in the Poppy Playtime factory, you have to do this convoluted ass puzzle, which makes no sense in the game world, because wouldn't those, like, how do those, every time the scientist wants to get in the office, they have to do a puzzle every time? It makes no sense. It ruins your immersion. And another aspect would be like the convenient placement of items or power-ups in the facility, which makes no sense in the actual canonical world of Poppy Playtime. A great example of that would be the convenience of that elevator shaft that breaks in such a perfect way that you can climb it. That makes no absolute sense. On a positive note though, bugs. There were less bugs in Chapter 5. There were still some, but based on my playthrough, it was less than Chapter 4, which was an absolute disaster. Apart from that, though, I will say, lore-wise, I'm not too well versed with the lore, but there was an infinite supply of cassette tapes and files that you could find to help deepen your understanding of the characters and lore. So if you're into that, most likely you'll like that aspect of the game. And I guess technically also, depending on what side of the fence you're on, you may have liked the character designs and character reveals. For example, the design reveal of the prototype. But that brings me to the main point of the video. We need to talk about Poppy Playtime as a gaming series. Okay, Poppy Playtime started as a horror game. Not whatever it's becoming into now, which in my opinion, right, it appears that Poppy Playtime is essentially just a glorified interactive advertisement for marketable mascots towards primarily children and or Spectrum gamers. Okay, shout out to all my Spectrum gamers. I'm one of you guys, but this is too Spectrum for me, man. Too Spectrum for me. And yeah, I'm not sure exactly when this change happened. In my opinion, is sometime after Chapter 3, which honestly is the peak of the series in terms of horror, where ever since then it's just been marketable mascots, lore drops, and etc. Yeah, but let's take a deeper dive, man. Exhibit A, the character design. Okay. Back in Chapter 1, 2, and 3, there always has been these cute characters, these cute mascots, but apart from Mommy Longlegs in Chapter 2, they were never the main focus of the game, right? Let's look at Chapter 1. Huggy Wuggy, OG Huggy Wuggy, is a terrifying character, right? Especially when you catch him in those vents. One of the best examples, Brawny in Chapter 1, the dinosaur, looks absolutely demonic. You cannot sell that to a kid. Like, imagine your 4-year-old, your niece comes in and say, hey, I want you to buy me this, and shows you OG Brawny. You'll be like, what the hell is wrong with you? You are a demon child. You are not a real-life human being, right? And then you look at him in Chapter 4 and 5. Bro looks like he's in fucking ecstasy. Bro looks so goddamn chill. Like, what? What happened to you? What happened to you? Apart from that, we used to have PJ Dog in Chapter 2. PJ Dog was terrifying looking thing, bro. Like, you would not, if I caught my niece and nephew playing with that shit, I would send them to the church to get baptized and or exorcist. Okay, you need an exorcism. Then obviously Chapter 3, we absolutely peaked, bro. I cannot glaze Chapter 3. Look, I cannot glaze Chapter 3 more than it deserves, bro. Catnap. Peak design. You just see that cat, it is terrifying. Dog Day, a dog that is chopped in half, intestines hanging out. terrifying as individual. And of course, we cannot forget Miss Delight, which is a demonic looking Uman, face ripped off, like leaking guts and everything. Like, none of these you can sell to kids. You can't sell those to children, bro. You cannot. Like, it's just not marketable, right? But they're terrifying as fuck. And then chapter 4 comes along, and then the downward spiral starts hitting us, man. We start with Yarnaby, which, you know, when he's got his mouth open, I guess is slightly scary, but when he's got his mouth closed, bro looks so fucking cute. Bro's got fucking eyes and everything. Like, ain't nobody afraid of Yarnaby, man. He looks like a plush doll. Don't get me started on Doughy Dough Man. Doughy Dough Man, bruh. What were you thinking? Even in his monster form, bro just looks like the cum monster. He doesn't look scary at all. Doesn't look scary at all. You know, then, bro, we go into chapter 5, which in my opinion is the worst, okay? Worst design that you could possibly have. Lily Love Braids looks like a Japanese man dream lolly girlfriend, okay? It's a Rule 34 engagement bait. I don't know who looks at Lily Love Braids and goes, that's scary. If you showed me a picture of Lily Love Braids, I'd be like, what kids game is this from? I wouldn't even ask if it's a horror game. I'd be like, what kids game is this from? This doesn't look like it belongs in a horror game, right? It doesn't. Even the performance, like, no disrespect to the voice actors, the performance isn't scary. It's not. It just looks like a lolly girlfriend, you know, took a bit too much cocaine and is tweaking balls. Like, it's not scary. It's just weird. It's maybe uncomfortable at best, or, you know, in terms of ambiance. And in my opinion, the worst part of this is the prototype, which has been teased for years. It feels like years at this point. And bro ends up looking like a Five Nights at Freddy's X Amazing Digital Circus OC fanfic. It does not look like Poppy Playtime. It does not look like horror. It looks like, oh wow, look at my quirky, cool character OC that I've created while I was gooning to Pomni. It doesn't look scary. It looks quirky and wow, look, he's so mystical. It looks like fucking Has-Been Hotel type stuff that appeals to 5-year-olds, bro. Like, it does not look scary at all. And yeah, don't get me started on Giblet and his little mouth friend, which they look like Care Bears, bro. They look like fucking Care Bears, okay? They don't, like, oh, look, he's been flipped inside out. Bro still looks huggable. Bro still looks smashable. Bro does not look like a demonic entity, okay? I used to see Catnap in chapter 3. My balls would shoot right up into my stomach, okay? I look at Giblet and chapter 5 monsters, and I'm like, how can I stick my dick in that? It's crazy, genuinely crazy. Next, Exhibit B, teammates, right? You are a horror game. Why in a horror game do you have all these cute friends on your team? The star on your hand in chapter 5, the quirky star on your hand. Giblet, right, helping us throughout the story. Poppy Playtime been helping us on and off, you know, in chapters 2, 3, 4, etc. So it's kind of hard to talk about that, but you know what I'm saying, like the big mouth guy or Doughy helping us in chapter 4, like all these friends of us that are so cute and marketable, easy to care for, easy to approach. They're approachable characters, you know. They're mascots. Hey, I really liked Giblet. Might as well buy a plushie. Right? It ruins immersion. It ruins the scare factor. Like, I'm not scared. If I have a whole gang of cute, fuckable animals on my team, why am I even scared of the prototype? Let's just jump them. Why am I even frightened? Right? In my opinion, it kills the horror in the horror franchise. Exhibit C. There's a clearer focus on lore/story versus gameplay. And look, I understand lore is important. I'm not saying it's not important. I'm not saying make a game without any lore. But I'm saying they clearly do not care about the gameplay at all. The gameplay in chapter 5 and 4 is boring as hell. It's boring as hell. It's literally just walking and clicking stuff. Walk and click. They recycle chases. The quote-unquote good parts of chapter 5 are chases that they've been recycling from chapter 1. By the time you get that 6th, 7th chase in chapter 5, it is genuinely boring. And the fact that it's a non-scary monster, it's not even scary. Half the time I was getting chased by a little lover, I wanted her to catch me. I was like, please do. I like, oopsie daisy, I tripped. What are you gonna do? Oh, you're gonna rope me in tight with your hair? Like, bro, this is not scary. Okay, it was boring as hell. Apart from that, they're stripping gameplay elements, right? I remember chapter 3, catnap boss fight. You actually had to do stuff. It was testing the mechanics of the game. There are 0 bosses chapter 5 that actually test your understanding of the mechanics, except the chase at the end with the prototype where you have to right click on the ice or whatever it is. What is that? It's brain dead gameplay, right? What about all the different hand types you had? Chapter 3, the flare gun, the boost hand, everything. They took it all out, replaced it with what? A magnet hand? Episode 4, chapter 4 ended with that like super powered hand. They got rid of that in the first 5 minutes of the game. Why? I don't know. But you know what they do have? Infinite cases. Or cassettes, sorry. Infinite cassette tapes everywhere. Story pickups at every single corner, bruh. And half the time, I'm getting... Bro, I was playing chapter 5. I'm running into secrets left and right accidentally. It's not a secret if it's in your face. Like, they be dropping cassettes in front of you. How the fuck? Like, if the priority is the story and the lore, you know, make it a movie. Don't make it a game if there's no game to be had. And especially if it's not scary, right? You're supposed to be playing a horror game. And the final exhibit that I have, which is in my opinion, probably the apart from the character design, is the worst proof of this. If you go to Poppy Playtime's website, they are more focused, right? The front page is all selling toys, selling merch. Every single tab is merch. The very, very last column is game. Like, what is the point? I mean, another thing too, they did change from mob games to mob entertainment, but you know, probably because they don't give a shit about games anymore. They just want to sell you shit. But like, how are you? This is it's just blatant at this point. They really don't give a shit about the game at all. It's all about making new characters, you know, deepening your attachment to those with lore and story, and trying to sell you as much stuff as possible versus making a game that's actually scary. Okay, there is no goal here, you know, in terms of making you scared. It's all about selling you stuff. And I guess I'll just off the top of my head too. Another thing was I can, maybe I'm just misremembering, but I could swear the ambiance, the way the world was designed, the sound design in chapter 3 specifically, it was much more focused on you know, building a horror atmosphere. Right? I remember times in chapter 3, even with the music and sound design, I was scared to even progress the game because it felt scary. It felt like, Jesus Christ, this is some hardcore stuff. And then by the time in chapter 5, you're just speedrunning, bro. Like, you're just walking to get to the next cutscene. Like, the whole point of the game is just walk to the next cutscene, walk to that thing to see how the story progresses. Which brings me to the conclusion, man, which is, you know, apart from the lore and story, which I'm not too well versed in. However, if I may make another video about this. I think the story makes no sense. That could just be me, but I think that, like, if you really break it down, like, of course, in grandiose, it makes sense. Like, bro wants to get his daughter back, whatever, revive his daughter, revive his eternal life, whatever. But if you really break into granularly, like, if you really think about it, it makes no sense. I guess some people really like it. You know, apart from that, like, there's no horror game, and if there's no horror game, you might as well have just made this into a movie, a TV show, a YouTube video, or a book. No one would have been mad. No one would have complained, and if anything, you would have satisfied those, you know, those gamers that just want lore, right? But at this point, there's no indication that they even want to make a good game. There's zero care, absolute zero care. And I hope that enough gamers will talk. I've seen a couple gamers sort of echoing the same things. I know Markiplier did say some stuff about this. So I'm hoping enough gamers just, you know, vocalize this and we're able to maybe change the direction of Poppy Playtime. Because at this point, if we don't have this discussion and they keep going down this path, I'm not going to play episode chapter 6. I'm just going to watch a YouTube video. I'm just going to watch a lore video. Like, what's the fucking point of playing it if there's no game? There's no horror. It's an advertisement. It's an advertisement to sell you toys. And I say this as a fan of the series, man. As a fan of the series, I want to see some change here. And maybe, you know, maybe I'm just too old. Maybe the game was never for people like me that are over the age of 3. Maybe the game was only for babies and whatnot. And at that point, maybe I'm just, a drop of piss in the ocean, if you will. But hopefully, man, hopefully they do something. I guess I'm interested, though. How do you feel about Poppy Playtime Chapter 5? And how do you feel about the series as a whole? Do you see the same stuff that I'm seeing? Do you think that there's been a change in the direction of the series as a whole? Let me know how you feel, man. And don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, and tell your mama about this, man. She'll care a lot. Thank you. Bye.